Want to keep up with the latest LEGO Maker 96.1 videos? Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Hello everyone, LEGO Maker 96.1 here with another video. And welcome back to another On This Day in History. It was On This Day in History on April 6th to the 7th of 1862. The Battle of Shiloh, aka Pittsburgh Landing, was underway. Now this battle in particular played a key role during the Civil War, primarily in the Western Theater. Now, when you think about the Civil War, there are two types of theaters, the Eastern Theater and the Western Theater. The Eastern Theater has to do with Chancellorsville, Shiloh, Fredericksburg, not Shiloh, has to do with Fredericksburg, Antietam, Gettysburg, Petersburg, and all that. Shiloh is part of the Western Theater, along with Vicksburg, Franklin, and all that stuff. Now, this battle in particular is pretty interesting because a lot of events played out. There's also the Hornet's Nest. The reason why it was called the Hornet's Nest is because it sounded like angry hornets. The bullets whizzing by sounds like angry hornets. And also, a Confederate general who died in that fight, a man by the name of Albert Sidney Johnston, a veteran of many wars. He lost his life because a bullet cut the artery behind his leg, his knee. Now, a story goes was a stray shot from either a Confederate or from a Union soldier, I don't know which, hit Johnston without him knowing, and he slowly bled to death. Now, one of the Confederates ran up to Johnston, who was laying next to a tree as he slowly bled to death. He asked him, "Johnston, do you know me?" Now, Johnston looked at the guy straight at the face before dying. And another reason, there was also a Union soldier who was separated from his regiment, the 70th Ohio. Now, that guy's name was John Cockrell, who came with his father, who was the commanding officer of the 70th Ohio, when the Confederates were storming through the Union camps. Temporarily, he was with another regiment, which he was separated from. No, that's not right. John Cockrell found himself a temporary berth in a regiment, an Illinois regiment of Highlanders. Now, among the Union stragglers, a lieutenant of this Highlander regiment stopped him and asked what regiment he belonged to. He told him that he was from the state of Ohio. The lieutenant said Ohio was making a bad show of it and asked to fight with him. Cockrell said that he'll join, but only temporary berth of his regiment. But when the Confederates see him and the Highlanders lost a lot of good men in that fight, including the lieutenant who took Cockrell in. But what led up to that battle? Well, what led up to the battle were two major events: the captures of Fort Henry and Fort Donelson. The fall of those two forts forced the Confederates to retreat from those said areas to the western part of Mississippi northern Alabama and Mississippi. Now, Grant's goal, though, was to take Corinth, Mississippi. There were two railroads that lead straight to Corinth. One of them being the Mobile and Ohio Railroad and the Memphis and Charleston Railroad. If he took those areas, it could sever the Confederacy in two, but it wouldn't be severed fully until Vicksburg in 63 on Independence Day, July 4th, which was a day after Gettysburg. Now, the casualties of that fight was pretty much insane because it was like a combination of all the previous wars combined. This is like from the Revolution all the way up to the Civil War. Now, there were a lot of events that played out on the first day. Now, for example, one officer named Everett Peabody, that's this guy right here, thinks there are Confederates out in the field. So he sent 3 companies of soldiers and an additional 2 companies of soldiers to scout out the position. They soon found Confederates on Fairlake Field, and it was there the Battle of Shiloh had begun. Now, other Union divisions fell under attack as well during the fight. Now, if you've seen History Channel's Civil War Combat, when they talked about Shiloh, Sherman rode out with a few staff members. And it was said that Sherman survived a buckshot wound to the hand. How? Because there were Confederates to his right. And it was there that they fired on him. His orderly Thomas Holliday was killed, and Sherman was able to escape with like I said, a buckshot wound to the hand. Now, the first day of the battle ended in a Confederate victory, and it was there that the Confederates then began to ransack the camps and loot the dead and the dying, including the wounded too. It was also in that fight in a hornet's nest that a Union general was wounded. William Wallace was his name. And Prentiss assumed command in the hornet's nest. But unfortunately, Prentiss surrendered along with a handful of Union soldiers. Now, it was also there that Wallace would survive, but unfortunately, later after the battle, he would die of his injuries with his wife by his side. Pretty true. Now, but on April 7th, it was day 1, but in reverse. With the arrival of General Don Carlos Buell, Union troops was able to retake their captured camps and push the Confederates out. And thus, the Battle of Shiloh ended in a Union victory. So here's another fact you didn't know. The name of Pittsburgh Landing was actually named after a guy by the name of Pitt, Tucker Pitt. Now, he operated a tavern at the site in the years preceding the Civil War. And Shiloh is actually a Hebrew name meaning place of peace. Now, another word, some Civil War battles have 2 names. For example, Shiloh, Pittsburgh Landing, Murfreesboro, Stones River, Antietam, Sharpsburg. Same place, same battle, different name.
And all are true.
And Shiloh's legacy is still carried out. For example, Disney made an an episode from the wonderful world of color called Johnny Shiloh. It was there that John Lincoln Clem, who later got the nickname Johnny Shiloh, was in that fight. Now, John Lincoln Clem was a drummer boy, and he also became the youngest sergeant in the Union Army. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Now, as I said earlier, History Channel made Civil War Combat, which is one of my favorite Civil War series. They even talked about the Battle of Shiloh. And yes, I have seen Ken Burns' wonderful documentary of the Civil War called The Civil War. By the way, highly recommend you watch it. It is phenomenal. And I also have the book too. And also, History Channel did grant it, and it did cover Shiloh. I highly recommend you watch that too. And yeah, before I close out this video, let's give a moment of silence for those brave Union men who fought and died at the Battle of Shiloh. And that concludes today's video. And if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more like this, please feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notifications so that way you can be notified if I upload the next video. And as always, this is LEGO Mega 961 signing off.